race fans, my name is Taylor and welcome back to Above the O-Line. This is part 2 of a two-parter special. Part 1 was all about the Bushy McBush 400, recapping that with special guest Zachary Bell. And he is back in part 2 as we start covering the Darlington paint schemes. Part 1 was all about the next-gen car reveal as well, so I would highly recommend going back and checking that out. But we're going to pick up right where the last podcast left off with these Darlington paint schemes, and then we're going to move into some more pre-race talk with our race predictions, some odds, and some track facts. So without further ado, let's get to it. Let's go to the Darlington throwbacks. Let's move over into this race weekend. Starting with looking at these throwbacks. I'm going to do like a share screen thing here. I really hope this works because I've practiced this. It should help. Zach is going to kind of lead the section here because he knows much more about these cars. We're going to go through all of the Cup cars here, and then we're going to pick our top 3 of the Xfinity. We're going to pick our top 3 of the trucks. Just kind of, we're going to try to blow through these here because we have spent a wonderful but great amount of time talking about last weekend and all these updates. So we're going to start, I'm going to scroll through. You just want to present these, Zach, and then we'll stop on our favorites.
All right. We can go ahead and stop where we started.
Yeah, I know. We're stopping right here.
One of my 2 favorites. This is Quinn Houff and Starcom Racing is throwing it back to John Andretti in 1997 when he won the Firecracker 400 at Daytona for Cale Yarborough Racing. And this is such a beautiful car and such a beautiful tribute to John Andretti and the entire Andretti family and the Check It for Andretti organization, of course, which stands for colonoscopies and making sure to have your colons checked for to make sure you don't have colon cancer. We know that John, or at least I know that John tragically passed away last January in 2020. So I love this. John Andretti is absolutely my favorite driver of all time. So it's very, very touching to see a tribute to your favorite driver. It really kind of has come full circle for me in a way to see throwbacks to someone I grew up watching a race like that, you know. So this is one of my 2 very, very favorites, and we'll see the other one later on, but this is such a special tribute.
And I think apparent right now, the reason I'm having exactly this segment is because as much as I do love NASCAR, I unfortunately am not good at the history. That's something I would love to get better at, but because my initial thought with this is I like the dogs on the car. So Zach, this is why. Thank you so much for taking charge with this section because I can see it's John Andretti, but I don't know the history of it. So very appreciative.
The RCA on the side of the car is an original sponsor of that car as well for Cale Yarborough and that team. So it was awesome. It was a 98 car. It's really awesome to see Quinn Houff do this. And it's even more cool when you think about it when over at Racing Refresh, we had Quinn Houff and Eric Jones on Racing Refresh.
That's so cool.
The past calendar year. So it is even more awesome. And I got to interview Quinn Houff. It's even more awesome to think about a driver that I interviewed is running a tribute to John Andretti. I don't have anything tied into or doing to this, but Quinn Houff may not know, but it means a lot to me to see this. So
that's a good one. A+ in Zach's book over there. Moving on to the number 3 here. We got Austin Dillon sponsoring Fireball Roberts. So here's where I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm starting to read. It's like behind me somewhere. It's like right there, that book right there. I'm starting to read the whole NASCAR history book. And I read a whole bunch about Fireball Roberts, and I have so much respect for him. He's one of the first major drivers, in my opinion, in the sport. So I really appreciate
one of the first stars in NASCAR.
One of the first stars.
Star of NASCAR.
And I also love the nickname, and I've heard about him before, and then I read the book and I was like, wow, that guy is so cool. And I love seeing a paint scheme that kind of represents that part of history, because you normally see just kind of recent history in these throwbacks. You don't see all the way back to the beginning. So I like this paint scheme a lot in terms of recognizing a first great in the sport.
Yeah, it's really clean. It's really crisp. And we'll kind of talk about this more the later on we go. It's nice to see that Richard Childress Racing in the 3 car is not throwing it back to Dale Earnhardt this year. I understand Dale's great and we should always, raise hell and praise Dale, but it's nice to not always see the Dale Earnhardt tributes and throwbacks. It's nice to see something with a little spice.
Here's one that we were both kind of iffy on, but this is Kyle Larson's. I don't know if I don't want to spend much time talking about this one, but this is Kyle Larson throwback to his first race car ever.
His go-kart.
Yes. We can move on. I say we move on.
Yeah, it's not really it for me.
Yeah. This one's cool. I always loved Tyler Reddick. I mean, I know at least Cup Series. This is his second full year.
Mhm.
He's killed it though. I think every single year. I think this one's cool. Do you want to talk about this one a little bit?
I'm okay talking about it. I like it. It's just it's kind
It's
of nice to
different.
see original like sort of throwbacks and stuff that we haven't seen. That is something I'll credit some of these teams with their throwbacks. That's not something you traditionally see, I guess is what I'll say.
Moving on to the number 6, Ryan Newman.
Yeah, this is a throwback to Kohler's. Kohler apparently sponsored a race car back in 1976 and won a championship with it. This is in the SCCA. So this is just a throwback to that. I kind of like the original Kohler design more as like a throwback to Mark Martin and that Viagra car from the early 2000s personally, but what are you going to do?
I do like the original NASCAR logo, like it's like right by the wheel. You can kind of see it. That
Yeah.
logo for me, I want a shirt of it. I love that so much. Moving on to the number 7. This one I think came out just today. I want to say this is Corey LaJoie's
Yes.
throwback.
This is his throwback to Alan Kulwicki. I believe his first win in, was it 88 or 89? 1989, I think. The Xerox card, they got the sponsor right. It looks fantastic. For those of you that don't know, Corey LaJoie and Spire Motorsports is working out of the same shop that Alan Kulwicki, his race team, worked out of. This year is littered with Alan Kulwicki throwbacks.
It's the year. There's like 3 in the Cup Series alone.
I really enjoy this particular Alan Kulwicki throwback the most. I think it's the most colorful, the most exciting. And it's really nice to see Corey LaJoie throw it back to Alan Kulwicki using that race shop as well.
Moving on to the, I'm basic with this. I'm so basic with the number 9 Hooters Alan Kulwicki, another one paint scheme. How can you not love this one, Zach? You've talked to me about this one. It's probably my favorite. It has to be one of my favorites on this.
It's a nice throwback. If there's a year to run your Hooters Alan Kulwicki championship throwback, it's the year to do it after you won the championship. It's a bit tired and played out though. Like I said with Corey LaJoie, this field is littered with Alan Kulwicki throwbacks. We've literally seen a Hooters Alan Kulwicki throwback with Greg Biffle like in 2015 or 16, whatever. It's cool, it's nice, but like it's a bit played out for me personally.
Yeah, it's just, we're gonna move on. I don't want to hear these negative comments. It's so cool.
It's not negative. It's just,
I know.
We've seen before.
I know. Well, let's move to something that I don't think we have seen before. This one's pretty neat. I love all these Mark Martin schemes. They're honestly probably one of my favorites too. But Eric Almirola.
Yeah, this one has a lot going on. This is a throwback to Mark Martin's Busch Series car in 2000. I'll say this. I'll give them their credit. When they don't have Winn-Dixie on the hood, like they have Smithfield on the hood, but they do have Winn-Dixie on the quarter panels and the back bumper, which I think really ties in the scheme. Any car or any team that gets a sponsorship from the OG sponsor, really
cool
for me. So it's really awesome to see. But this is a unique one. This is not a Mark Martin throwback. I think very many of us would have predicted or called. So kind of cool to see this one pop back up in time.
I do think the nice one about this one, at least, is it fits with his actual sponsor, Smithfield. So I do think it looks nice. It's not one of my favorites, but I do think it kind of brings nicely, bringing everything in together, because a lot of drivers, I feel like, have issues bringing in their actual sponsor with the throwback scheme. This one does it pretty tastefully, pun intended. Let's move on to, let's see. Oh, okay. You have opinions on this one. This is Denny Hamlin's throwback
to Julius Johnson, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not my favorite choice of the ones we could have voted for Denny Hamlin's throwback, but I'll give him and I'll give JGR their credit here. It's a very, very accurate depiction or throwback to the original car, as you see. And Sports Clips did a good job angling their logo and everything. So I'll give them some credit here. It was a very good replica of the throwback. It's not my favorite throwback. I would have loved to have seen the Ned Jarrett throwback from him.
I would have too.
At a certain point, I'm waiting for Denny Hamlin to throw it back to a Cup Series performance of his, possibly. We'll see, though. When Sports Clips comes on and sponsors him, it kind of changes up what he does. When FedEx sponsors him, it's a little bit. When FedEx sponsors the throwback, it's a little bit. I tend to like the FedEx throwbacks better. I'll say that.
I did like last year's a lot. I also liked the merchandise that came with his throwback last year. I wanted to get a shirt so bad.
Yes, his throwback last year and in 2019, the throwback to Darrell Waltrip was very nice as well.
Yeah, anything with the wall trips, I'm a sucker for. I love them. I love DW in the booth. When he retired, I cried. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like when he retired from the booth, at least I was a mess. And I
It was,
love seeing Michael Waltrip too.
it was a very draining experience seeing him retire. But anyways,
I know. Let's move on to the 12 O'Brien Blaney. This, I mean, take it away, Zach. This is really cool.
so this is a throwback to his late model car from 2010, I believe, or 2011. It's
2010.
Yeah, 2010. There we go. It's a very nice throwback here. It's a very accurate throwback as well. When you look at the renderings of the original car, it's not like a favorite of mine necessarily. I'm not always fond of drivers throwing it back to themselves so early in their career, but
Unless they're like retiring,
Well, if it's their last season, for example, or like Jimmy Johnson, like when he was like in 2019, when he threw back to that super truck thing that he raced or whatever, those are cool. But Ryan Blaney is so far from retirement, or at least we hope. But
I
don't
hope so.
understand the Blaney throwback to himself here this early on. He could have ran this 10 years from now, probably, in my opinion.
I do like it though. There's some history there, kind of honoring his early career. The helmet's cool for this car. I think this is pretty cool. Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe's throwing it back to AJ Foyt and his, I believe, the first NASCAR start or something like that. And what's this, 86, I believe. It's a really, really awesome throwback. We know what AJ Foyt meant to Tony Stewart and what Tony Stewart meant to Chase Briscoe. So this is kind of like
passing the torch.
It's kind of like, yeah, it's like your grandfather giving you some sort of old family relic and giving it to your dad, and your dad's giving it to you, kind of sort of thing. So I really like appreciate the lineage here of the thought of Foyt to Stewart to Briscoe.
Let's move to the 15. Yeah, James Davison back in the car this weekend. I should add.
Yes, I am blanking on who this throwback is to be honest with you.
Is it Dick Johnson?
It might be Dick Johnson. This car is nice, I'd say. I like the number font personally. I don't know about you.
I did, yeah. I like it actually looks vintage, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looks nice.
Okay, Kyle Busch's car.
We can go ahead and pass this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Back to Eminem's 80th anniversary. We can pass this Truex car. This car is not good.
I don't feel like it's a real throwback. That's my opinion.
It's a throwback to supposedly to the Furniture Row matte cars or whatever they when you around the 78. But this looks horrible. Maybe it's because it's like a image, like a thing of it on iRacing or something.
This one, I don't know how to. I saw this. This is one of the first ones that came out. I didn't know how to feel about this one, but this is Joey Logano's. Oh well, you should talk about this one then.
It's weird. It's a throwback to Mario Andretti's first F1 win. I don't know why a NASCAR driver would throw back to another driver in another motorsport's first F1 win. That seems a bit odd to me. It kind of looks like those old school Ford logos and stuff, that like we see. Oh, jeez. And we'll see Haley Deegan kind of run something similar to this in a way. But it's weird. The 22 doesn't quite fit that white circle on the side very well. And then it's a red car, but like the Pennzoil and Shell logos are all like whited out. It's very weird. I'm not very fond of this. I tend to not like Joey Logano's throwbacks outside of his throwback to Steve Park and Kevin Harvick a couple of years ago.
Yeah, this one's very odd. It kind of just throws me off. I do like the red and the white. I do. It's just kind of like cookie cutter, in my opinion. I do like the hood of the car, and I like the rear of the car where the the Pennzoil, the white Pennzoil with the black lettering is. That's me. We're gonna move on. We're gonna ditch that. Here's one that's cool. This is Bubba Wallace's. He's throwing it back to Wendell Scott. Thoughts?
I've seen Bubba Wallace throw back to Wendell Scott before.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought his Truck Series throw back to Wendell Scott when he won at Martinsville in 2015, I think, or 2014, was better than this personally. The root logos are a bit odd with the orange and everything. I don't know. This car, maybe it's the image and the rendering of it, but it doesn't sit very well to me.
Now,
the Walls run a better throwback to Wendell Scott.
I will say I do like that they have like a Wendell Scott like image logo on right near the front of the car. I'm kind of disappointed. I think we talked about this at some point, or I talked about this on my show. Kind of the lacking of I guess, design on these cars. I thought they would have had like really popping design. Now I think the Dr. Pepper scheme kind of blew me away. I thought it looked kind of not that great on paper, and then I saw it on the track and I was like, oh, it's really cool. But this is not one of my favorites. I like the colors. I'm gonna move on. That's all I got. Now this one. This I think this one is probably my favorite, again, because it's basic. And I talked about this on my last podcast or 2 podcasts ago, but Valvoline is expanding their partnership with Hendrick Motorsports to William Byron and to Kyle Larson. This is William Byron's. They're doing 2 races for him and 3 for Larson. I like this. It's pretty.
I like this too. Valvoline throwbacks are a bit tired for me in general, but I think they would have wanted Neil Bonnet before, so I'm cool with another Neil Bonnet throwback. It's better than running a Jeff Gordon throwback, although eventually I want to see the Flames get thrown back to at some point. Jeff Gordon's Flames. We have not seen that yet. But this is a good one for Valvoline and William Byron. It's nice to see. Like I had said before, it's cool when these teams throw it back to something that is not the obvious basic throwback choice like Jeff Gordon is for the 24.
I like the lettering on this one too. The numbers and lettering. I'm gonna have to get a die cast of this one. We're gonna go to this one I like because Chase Elliott fan, Michael McDowell's to Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
A throwback to his 1985 or 88, I can't remember. Daytona 500 championship winning cars. It's a very clean, classic looking NASCAR. I like freight options, built willingness to change to that font, the Coors Light sort of font that Bill Elliott had back in the day. The red, the gold, it looks really, really clean and nice. Very simple but classic paint scheme.
This one you like. This one I don't like.
I do. It has since dropped in the rating since other drivers have been revealed. But nevertheless, I really appreciate it when drivers throw it back or tribute to either their spotters or their crew chiefs. And this is exactly what Ryan Preece is doing here. Now, if you look at the 15 truck up here that Trent Owens ran in 2002, you see flames. The cool thing about this is that Velveeta, instead of doing flames, made it cheese. I enjoy that touch. I very much so enjoy this touch. It's not like my favorite paint scheme, but it's a good one. And it's nice to see him throwing back to such an important person in his career and his crew chief, Trent Owens.
We'll talk about one of those near the end here, or actually maybe up next. If I'm thinking correctly. He's close. But I love when the main sponsors of these cars get in on these paint schemes and are able to modify their normal vision for the car or their brand to fit a throwback, because that shows like there's a collaboration. I appreciate that from the sponsors. Thank you, sponsors, for having fun with this as much as the fans love having fun with this. The 38, this one's kind of interesting for me. Let's talk about this Anthony Alfredo.
Yes, this is a throwback to Alan Kulwicki's 1985 car. This is the third and final Alan Kulwicki throwback. The weak hair on the hood is a bit odd. I don't know where that came from necessarily, but I really love the number on this car. Like the font of the number, it's a very vintage throwbacky sort of look. I in general like this car, but the weak hair on the hood is a bit odd.
Let's go to I appreciate this car. It's maybe not my favorite looking. It's very busy, but I appreciate what this car means. This is Cole Custer's.
Yes, it's his Mother's Day car. It's a tribute to, I believe, what's her name? Margaret Haas?
Yes, Margaret Haas.
It's a very beautiful tribute to her and to mothers in general. Of course, we get caught up in throwback weekend in the NASCAR season. Of course, Darlington is on Mother's Day itself. So I really enjoy that this is not a throwback to anything in particular, but more of a tribute to her. I like it.
Yeah, we would not be anywhere without our moms or our parents or a guardian figure. I do say this car is busy, but I freaking appreciate what this stands for and appreciating the moms out there. 42, I'm a sucker for McDonald's. I'm not gonna lie. This is maybe not my favorite, but I mean, it's pretty good. This is a throwback to Hut Strickland's 1993 McDonald's car. I'll give them their credit for the accuracy of it. It's a very basic paint scheme, though. I feel like the ones with the McDonald's ones, though, they're not getting the M right on the hoods, or they're not quite right. Maybe it's just because it's like a different sort of like gin body of the car, so it looks a little different. Because the hood's more round. The Chevrolet too, but let's move to. Oh, you have things to say about this one, Zach.
This is my favorite. Only one that tops Quinn Half John Andretti throwback is Eric Jones's John Andretti throwback, as it says at the bottom, a tribute to John Andretti. This is a very specific throwback to John Andretti's final career Cup Series win, 1999 at Martinsville in the Goodies 500. For those of you that don't know, John came back from 2 laps down that day to beat Jeff Burton, Dale Earnhardt, and all of the stars of the 1999 NASCAR season. Such a meaningful paint scheme. As I said earlier with John, it's truly amazing to see your favorite driver be a throwback, and it means a lot to me. John has been a lot to me personally, so it's awesome to see him getting this recognition around the sport and within the garage this throwback weekend. Last year we had Daniel Hemrick's throwback to the when he drove the little Caesars 37 car, but it's nice to see throwbacks to what John was most recognized for in his NASCAR career, that famed 43 and that RCA car for Cale Yarborough.
So this scheme filled Zach's heart.
Absolutely. I am tearing up over here with joy. This scheme made
the tears go right away.
This one's not a throwback at all, really. It's supposed to be a throwback to Ricky Craven, but it's very half-baked. So we can just go ahead and skip this as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to give this one any credit at all.
Here's the one I want to give credit. Can I talk about this one? I really want to, so bad. Okay, so Alex Bowman throwing it back to crew chief Greg Ives. This is one of Greg Ives' late model schemes that he used to drive. We talked about this on Dipstick Debates on Zach's podcast, but there was an episode of the Dale Jr. Download. If you've ever listened to it, I highly recommend it. This episode in particular, Greg Ives was on, and he talked about his racing journey, literally driving from his home state all the way down to Daytona, like one night. Like, he made everything. I mean, he wanted to work at Hendrick Motorsports, and he definitely made his journey happen, but it took a lot of work. And I don't think a lot of us know the hard work that Greg Ives does, or I mean, these crew chiefs, I don't think get enough credit. Their journeys aren't really mentioned a lot. The guys behind the scenes really aren't given enough credit for what they do. Did you see the video where they revealed this to Greg Ives? Did you see that?
Yes, very touching.
Very touching. And his whole family was on FaceTime, and I was like, man, that guy deserved it. I love this team right now. That I feel like him and maybe I feel like all the Hendrick teams right now are clicking. Their crew chiefs, their crews, and them, especially the 48 team and the 24, in my opinion. But I love Greg Ives and Alex Bowman's dynamic. I think they're awesome, and I think it's awesome that he's throwing back to his crew chief.
Yeah, I 110% echo your sentiments on this one. This one is one of my very favorites.
It's pretty, actually.
It's a very pretty car. You know, you don't think about seafoam green and magenta as being colors that would match very well together on a race car, but here we are, and it looks great. Credit to Ally and Alex Bowman and Greg Ives. But you can probably take the floor on this one. I know you enjoyed this one.
It's not the best. I'm going to say this is not the best paint scheme. But this made my day. I saw this one released and I started laughing. I was like, oh my God, it's Burger King. And I don't know. And then Insurance King, and it's just clever. I'm gonna stop before I embarrass myself further. I just think this one's clever.
Look at the quarter panel though. It says best darn burgers or whatever on the Burger King.
Yeah, and then now
best darn rates. A good tribute and throwback to Lenny Pond. Very accurate. Well.
Yeah. It was accurate. I think that's what I enjoy. It's accurate, but they conformed it to the new model, and it's Burger King. Like that's cool. I love the food throwbacks. I really want someone to do at some point a Kellogg's throwback to one of the 5 cars. I want that so bad. So moving on to the 77 Spire Motorsports. This is Justin Haley. Yeah.
This is a throwback to Robert Presley when he drove the 77 for Jasper Enterprises. I believe it's Jasper Enterprises. It's definitely the Jasper team. I forget the end of the name. And it's also a Mother's Day tribute car on the hood, as you can see. Mm-hmm. It's a colorful car. I don't dislike it. It's an accurate paint scheme.
It's very simple.
Yeah, it's very simple.
We're getting to the end here. 78 Live Fast.
Yeah, this is a throwback, I believe, to
Joe Weatherly.
This is Joe Weatherly's final win, I believe, for Live Fast. Really, really nice basic throwback scheme. The thing and the trend you'll see is anything that's pretty much a throwback before 1970 is probably going to be clean and simple and basic.
So I like this one. I will say that one's really good to look at. This is the 99 of Agostino Suarez. How do I forget?
It's a throwback to Camping World's 55 years, I believe. It's a very nice, simple, clean throwback. in my opinion.
And doesn't this one, either was the iRacing one, I think that's why I'm like Heritage. I think it celebrates Cinco de Mayo.
The red and the green, I think, is what's making you think that around the yellow.
Because either I read that about this one or I read that about the iRacing one.
Yeah, I think it's this one.
I do like the lettering though. I do enjoy that one.
Yeah.
So we are done with the Cup Series. We're going to move on to our top 3 of the Xfinity and top 3 of the.
Wait, Taylor, which one's your favorite? Which one's your favorite Cup Series throwback? Do you have a favorite?
I tried to gloss over it because I couldn't pick one. Honestly, I would probably say William. I mean, I was pretty avid about William Byron, so I think I'd have to say that one's my favorite. But there was some good ones this year. There were some that were kind of like, but there was ones that were really good. I will say my favorites are in the Xfinity series. So that's not easy for me to pick a favorite there. Like I said, top 3. So we'll go over to that. But I'd say William Byron for the Cup Series is probably my favorite, personally.
Yeah, my favorite's Eric Jones, and then Quinn Houff.
Yeah.
And then Alex Bowman's probably. I really like that car.
Bowman's is a close second for me. Well, I also like Chase Elliott. I hate to be like the Hendrick Motorsports train here, but their cars were, they were pretty good. But I digress. Let's move on to these Xfinity throwbacks. Still see Jeffrey Earnhardt's right here throwing it back to Dale Earnhardt, but we're not going to talk about all of them. Like I said, top 3. So we're going to start just kind of going down the line here. Do you have? Oh, I guess I should talk about mine because mine's like up first. Gatorade number 1. I love this. This is throwing it back to Darrell Waltrip, which I love the Waltrips so much. And this is what I'm gonna get. It's really cool. I don't know. I have nothing else to say with this other than I love the colors. I love the dark green. I'm not even just history oriented for me, as you know. I'm not great with history, but just the design wise, I think it's very cool. So that is 1 for me. Zach, do you have anyone between the numbers of 1 and 6?
No.
Okay, so then I will go to my next one. We're gonna scroll through. Ooh, number 6. Ryan Vargas here with the number 6 for Mark Martin. I said I love the Mark Martin throwbacks. This is one of them. I just think it looks cool. That's all I gotta say. And then I know you have the number. Oh, here is this one of yours?
7. Yeah. This is a Justin Allgaier throwback to Dale Earnhardt's 2000 Daytona 500 car when he had the Tasmanian Devil on the car. I appreciate a couple of things here. The good humor is supposed to kind of look like Goodrich on that 3 car. The 7 is kind of in the font of the 3. You got the red number on the hood like Dale had. This is just a very, very classic throwback and a very good attempt at something that was iconic in its time, I'd say.
Here's something that's iconic, and this is your favorite, so I'm just going to say that before we even get to the next one, I love it. I cried. It's perfect. Here we go.
Yeah. This is the throwback of all throwbacks. Outside of the John Andretti cars, this is my favorite. Just the throwback to 20 years later, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s triumphant, historic, and most importantly, healing victory in the 2001 Pepsi 400 at Daytona. The return trip to Daytona after losing Dale Earnhardt. A throwback to the 2001 MLB All-Star iconic paint scheme. A legendary and great-looking paint scheme in its own time as well. It's basically an exact replica, except on the side, you'll see that they put an image of Dale Jr. and Michael Waltrip celebrating in the infield there.
Perfect.
Or on the hood of their cars in the infield at Daytona, which I thought was an even more classic and wonderful touch by Junior and everybody at Junior Motorsports. Just A++ here. I cannot get enough of this race car.
I don't think anything can get better than this one. I'm not gonna lie. Even in the future, like nothing beats this. For me,
it's really hard. I mean, this is such a special moment in NASCAR history for those of you that know an ounce of history for the sport and the names that made the sport so great. This is a truly special car.
This is one of the older races. I know I'm saying older, like I'm crazy, but that I watched the whole way through. And because I watched documentaries, I've watched some of the older ones, and I lost it, man. It was so. I hope Josh Berry does well at Darlington. I want him to because I want this car in victory lane so darn bad. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Moving on. Let's see. Anyone between number this one and 26.
I got the 16.
Let's scroll to the 16 then.
There's some good ones in here as well, but not that one.
This one. Okay.
That one. The throwback to AJ Allmendinger's first Cup Series win. I know it's a recent throwback, and I don't always love the throwbacks to yourself,
Yeah, you're going back on your word here, Zach.
I'm going back a little bit of my word, but here's the thing. AJ Allmendinger, I think, is closer to the end and the beginning of his career personally. He's 40 years old or 39 years old. But this is such a meaningful moment. This is JTG's or his first win with JTG at Watkins Glen in 2014. He made the playoffs that year, of course, the first year of the playoffs. Just a really fun race. This car brings back a really good memory of a fun win. AJ Allmendinger has had such an up and down career where it started at Penske and then the drug test failures and everything. To come back and to take that car to victory lane and now to be able to throw back that specific car, I think it's just a really awesome job on Colleagues, and they really nailed this throwback for me personally.
And AJ's having a lot of success in the Xfinity series. They're talking about moving their team Colleague to the Cup Series. I know everyone's like, AJ can move. I'm like, no, he's happy where he's at. I think he's having a lot of success. Won't go into that right now, but just saying he's been really successful, and it's cool that he's able to throw back to his first win. I'm going to go to the number 26 here. Yep, there's that one. I mentioned this on your show because which side? Here it is. So this is a Kyle Petty throwback by, my God, I'm going to say this right because I realize I've been saying this wrong. Literally the whole time it's Godovic.
Godovic.
My God, thank you. I swear it's like one of those names I just say wrong all the time, and I know the right way, but my brain. So I digress. This is the paint scheme that we're talking about here that they're throwing back to. This is a Kyle Petty one. Just for me, Hot Wheels as a kid, we used to get, I mentioned on your show, it was like a bucket of sand. It was actually a bucket of flour that we would get so we could just play with the cars inside our house. We get a bunch of Hot Wheels and one of those just little cars. Me and my siblings, and we would just like play cars, like make the hills and whatever. So this one just holds a special place in my heart, nostalgic reasons, just for the sponsor. Now, the sponsor is not Hot Wheels. You mentioned this on your show. You brought this to my attention, and another car in here has actual Hot Wheels as their sponsor, which I think is
Jade Buford's Dan Gurney throwback in the 48 car.
Yeah, which I think is kind of dumb. I don't get how, but it's not my problem. Not going to know, but I really do like this one for this sake. Shout out to my grandparents for finding this at a yard sale for, I think, only $3. Like,
$3 for the best diecast.
I know, they're the best, and this one's just so fun. So that was, I think that was all three for me. I haven't,
yes.
Yeah, I do. I have an honorable mention, but I'm not going to mention it. What's your last one? Or your second?
No, that was all three. My last one was AJ Allmendinger's.
Right. Okay. So losing track of time. That was our Xfinity picks. Honorable mentions, won't mention them right now because we got to move on to the Truck Series here with our top three. Which mine's the number 3. We're gonna start with the number 3. Is that fine?
I'm starting here with Chris Wright.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
So this
right
is
here.
really awesome throwback to Kevin Harvick Incorporated KHI when he had Ron Hornaday in that truck, in that nice 6 truck. A really nice one. Of course, Goodwright, I'm assuming that that's related to Chris Wright and they're funding this. But Goodwright, also like Good Wrench, kind of like the good humor for Justin Allgaier. Really good sponsorship wordplay there. It's a very, very classic Truck Series paint scheme, in my opinion, and it's kind of a classic Cup Series paint scheme now when you think about the 29, because it's very similar to Harvick's 29 card RCR. Just a very, very clean looking paint scheme, and very cool to see this one as a throwback as well.
I'm yet again choosing another Mark Martin inspired one because I can. The number 3 here, I know this is kind of, this one, I did not like. This is a Jordan Anderson. Yes, Jordan Anderson one. And at first I didn't like this one.
Anderson. We love Jordan Anderson.
See, I need to watch more of the Truck Series. I need to learn more. I'm going to be honest with the viewers. I just do. I focus on the Cup Series mainly, but he looks like a nice guy. I've watched one of the races with him, not one of the races, but one of the races I really focused on him because I saw his paint scheme. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But yeah, this one's kind of all over the place, but there's something about it I just like. I like the kind of the rusties on the side of it, the rusties. I like the numbering because it kind of just reminds me, I don't know, I just really like it. And I love the tribute to Larry Mack in particular because Zach and I have a profound love for Larry McReynolds. He was the not announcer, but he did like the whole driver start your engines at Kentucky Speedway. The 2019, I think, was the last year I was able to go, and I about cried. And he did such a good job too. But such appreciation for Larry McReynolds and Mark Martins as well. But
you know why he's running this throwback, right? Like really know why, right?
I don't. Please enlighten me and the viewers.
He's
does he?
engaged to Larry Mack's daughter.
No.
Yes. Jordan Anderson is living our life. That's supposed to be our in-law.
Well, Jordan Anderson, congratulations to you. I did not know this. You have one incredible father-in-law, I guess I would say. Larry Mack is just wonderful. That's awesome. Thank you for reminding me. I am so out of it when it comes to the truck series. But they do have, I will say, they produce great racing. I am trying to watch more, and it's all about learning here on Above the Yellow Line. It's all about learning. But yeah, this is cool. That's cool. Cool fun facts. I guess anyone between 3 and 21 you want to talk about?
Yes. Hold on. The 19 for sure.
Oh, yes. Okay, here we go.
This is Derek Krause's throwback to Michael Waltrip's 2003 Napa Auto Parts car, the car he won his second Daytona 500 in. For those of you that don't listen to Dipstick Debates, I have an immense love for Derek Krause. I just recently had my open letter to Derek Krause where I poured my heart and soul out to him personally. So, go check it out if you're into that sort of stuff. But Derek Krause is the driver that Derek Krause and Jordan Anderson are the two drivers that keep me coming back to the truck series every single week. Who doesn't love a good Michael Waltrip throwback? You said it best, you love the Waltrip.
I do. They're just wholesome and they really care about the sport. They work their way up really. I mean, they're just lovely people.
Lovely, lovely throwback to a great time in NASCAR, a time where I so fondly remember watching as a young child. This is 2003 was the first year I ever went to a racetrack in general. So this kind of paint scheme stands out to me as well.
I'm going to move on to Zane Smith in the 21. This is a throwback to Wood Brothers Racing. Their kind of paint scheme here. I like this one because I like Wood Brothers. I started watching pretty intently in 2016, and then Ryan Blaney was in the 21 car at Wood Brothers. And then Matt DiBenedetto moved there. And I love Ryan Blaney so much. He's probably one of my new favorite drivers now. Matt DiBenedetto has definitely stolen my heart. He is just such a people's driver. You want him to do well every week. So kind of seeing that, and obviously the Wood Brothers legacy runs deep. They've done so much for the sport. So kind of seeing this car tribute them is incredibly awesome. And I love the look of it. I love the red. I love the lettering because it's, Wood Brothers, and it's very accurate to the car it's trying to go off of, actually. The thing I like about these truck cars, at least, is they literally look accurate just as a truck.
Yes.
Paint schemes do.
Yes.
Do you have anyone between 21 and 26?
Yes, the 25.
25, all right. 24, here we go.
Yeah, this is really awesome. This is a throwback to Bobby Hamilton's Square D car. I believe this is a throwback to the truck when he ran, which was number 4. It could be a throwback to the Cups car, which was number 55 as well. But either way, it's such a beautiful throwback here, an iconic paint scheme for its time. That blue and yellow Square D just really pops. I appreciate Rackley Roofing for kind of going with the Square D. The double R is cool looking logo there with the square and everything. Just 10 out of 10. A nice, good Bobby Hamilton throwback. You don't get enough of those.
I'm going to move on to, let's see. Okay, yep, here we go. Tyler Ankrum. Mentioned this on your show, Zach, but who doesn't love Talladega Nights? You know what I mean? And this is a throwback to that. The kind of like the one, what was it, like Wonder Bread? Thing? Yeah.
Wonder Bread was the car in the movie.
So it was my first NASCAR movie. I saw Cars, so I can't really say it's the first NASCAR movie or racing movie I've watched, but it's the first one where I was like, wow, this goes beyond Pixar. That's pretty cool. Man, I'm so glad somebody did this. It just makes me so happy to see this play out in a truck. I love this. I want a die cast of it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's fun. It's so
it's
fun.
Fun.
It's not a real throwback, you know what I mean?
No.
It's not throwing back to a real car, but it's throwing back to the golden era of NASCAR when it was at its most popular, and Hollywood gave a care and give a rip about NASCAR.
Exactly. So that's my top 3. Was that all yours, or do you have one more?
Yes, that was my top 3. I had Krause and Hamilton and Chris Wright. Or not Hamilton. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. So those were our paint schemes. So we have that out of the way now. We talked about, Darlington paint schemes. Now we have to talk about the actual race itself. So let me get back organized here for a second. This is where we start to bring in the usual above the yellow line style real quick with some track facts, lining up the field and lining up the odds. Then Zach and I are going to share our Cup Series race winning pick. And then Zach, I usually choose a backup because I'm not confident in my decisions, which I'm going to start calling my garage pick. So please sit tight while I spit some facts for the viewers. This is a 1.366 mile track. It is a 400-mile race and 293 laps long. Stage 1 is 90 laps, stage 2 is 95 laps, and the final stage is 108 laps. We're going to line up the field here on your screen. The top 4 in this lineup is stacked with experience, minus Denny Hamlin in that top 4 there. I mean, these guys we would expect to run for the title. Like, we have Keselowski on the pole, we have Harvick, Kyle Busch, we have Truex, and then you have Byron, Elliott, Hamlin, DiBenedetto, Austin Dillon, and Reddick making up your top 10. I do actually want to bring you in for a question real quick, Zach. Do you think that starting position at Darlington matters? Does a good starting position determine the winner?
No, but it helps a lot. It's really, really hard to pass at Darlington. It's such a narrow track. It's like a groove and a half, probably really is about the racing groove is a groove and a half. So being able to kind of start yourself up front and, be able to hold track position is going to be a really, really important deal for a lot of these guys up front. I'll say this, though. Darlington is also a track where your mistakes are most easily capitalized on, I'd say. It's really easy to make a mistake at Darlington and therefore others to get around you. So for me, if you're going to start up front, you got to be clean and you got to be crisp and precise about, putting together a lot of great laps here and, being great on pit road if you do catch a green flag pit stop here.
It's good to know, because that is a question I wanted to ask you, because my experience with Darlington, I don't have a great memory. I do love the track. I love the paint scheme throwback. But when it comes to racing, I'm always like, well, I'm looking at the numbers and I'm looking at the stats, but does it really matter? Because my race pick kind of determined from your answer there. Honestly, I do want to look up lining up the odds real quick before we get into our race picks. The last driver to win at this track was Harvick, Hamlin, then Harvick. We raced at Darlington twice in 1 week as we returned from COVID. So we got 3 races last season, which, I mean, fantastic. Darlington's always a fun track to go to. The active driver with the most wins was Harvick and Hamlin, tying for those wins. Then we have the active driver with the best finish at this track. Eric Jones is actually that driver with a 5.17 average finish. Since 2018, though, Kyle Larson has had the best average finish with a 2.5. And then the team with the most wins here is Hendrick Motorsports with 14. Finally, the manufacturer with the most wins is Chevrolet with 42. Then we have Ford with 30 and Toyota with 8. So all the stats out of the way of me spewing out numbers here. Zach, I want to know your race pick. I want to know your race pick and then your backup pick.
On my on Dipstick Debates, my podcast, I went out and I picked Denny Hamlin as my race. I'm feeling the juice tonight, Taylor. It's Wednesday. It's after the iRacing event. I'm drinking the nostalgia coffee. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. My winner pick is Eric Jones. You said he had the best active average finish. On the iRacing, if it's anything like Talladega 2 weeks ago, we know he's going to win because Brad won both. So I feel like Darlington is a track that pays well to those who can have the confidence, like I said, to run the wall. Eric Jones absolutely has that confidence. He really knows how to get around this track. It's going to pay well for him. Richard Petty Motorsports has been up and down in general this season, but some of their best races came at tracks with the 750 package. I'm looking at that Bristol Dirt race, is a good one for them. They had a couple of good races in the 550 package, but I think a 750 track kind of shortens the gap between equipment in a way because it allows for more driver talent to show than a 550 intermediate track. So I'm going to give Eric Jones as my winner pick. If I was really drinking the John Andretti Kool-Aid, I'd sit there and put Quinn Halfus in my...
Oh, man.
But I don't really want to do that because it's like we know that's not actually something that could happen. So I'll take in the garage pick. I'm thinking I was not necessarily prepared to make 2 picks here.
I know I'm throwing you a curveball here. You could be bold and just go with 1.
No, I'll pick 2. I'll take Tyler Reddick. Kind of the same reasons as Eric Jones. I guess I stole your pick. I was debating between the RCR guys, so I was just thinking about Tyler Reddick. The top 10 here in his first start really stands out to me. This is, like I said earlier, a track that he could really make up a lot of ground in the point set and kind of continue to turn his season around after a good run at Kansas.
He's one of those drivers not afraid to run the wall. That's why he was going to be my garage pick. I do have a backup, though, just for the sake of being interesting. But
backup to the backup.
A backup to the backup. I had these scenarios in my brain. I had to. The race winning pick I chose for your show. I chose Brad Keselowski, and I'm going to stick with that. I do feel like I kind of, from research and stats, a good starting position usually at Darlington does tend to result in a good finishing position. So I'm going to stick with Brad Keselowski, and my garage pick, based on nothing more than a trend I'm seeing in the places that this driver is finishing each week. I don't think he will, but I want this to happen so bad. Matt DiBenedetto is my you turn to the side, Zach, is my race winning garage pick here, because at some point either the trend is going to stop of him finishing better every weekend, or it's going to result in a win, or at least like a top 3. And I think if he doesn't at least win this race, because I think it's not his best track, then at least it will do a top 3. That's my hope. But let me know in the comments below who your race pick is. We talked about a lot. This is going to come to you in 2 parts. Thank you all so much for listening to Above the Yellow Line, the show where we talk about all the updates, theories, news, recaps, and more of the NASCAR Cup Series. I want to mention the setup behind me. This will be here now. I'm going to start doing more video layouts for my podcast. Also hoping to move it to Podbean or to Apple Podcasts, somewhere where you all can listen besides YouTube, to kind of expand everything. We're going to do a recap video after Darlington, so stay tuned for that. That'll be the next one up. Zach, thank you so much for being on the channel. Anything else you want to say before we close out for the evening?
No, just once again, thank you for having me on. It's always cool to be on somebody else's show and to not have to do all the work of script writing and editing. Sorry.
You're good.
This Friday night, my co-host Justin Seeker and I will be on the Big Time the Big Time Racing Refresh on Facebook and YouTube at 9 Eastern and 8 p.m. Central Time Friday nights. So that'll be really cool to kind of see. Like I referenced earlier, I'm going to be at Circuit of the Americas and the All-Star Race at Texas Motor Speedway. So hopefully there'll be some cool vlog entertainment opportunities coming out of that. Other than that, I'll end it with my sign-off I usually do on my own podcast. So I want to thank my parents, of course, for supporting my NASCAR addiction. It is Mother's Day weekend, so a double shout-out to my mom this weekend, of course, who has been the most supportive of my NASCAR addiction and putting the time and effort and money into going to races, getting me die-cast, shirts, everything else, tickets, everything. The cable packages to have NBCSN, because it is a doozy to find cable packages with NBCSN at times. So shouts out to her for that, and of course my dad as well. And AJP and everybody at Racing Refresh for the opportunities with them. And shouts out to you for doing our show swap this week.
Of course. Yeah, Zach will be on the show a little bit more. It's always fun to have you. Thank you so much for joining. Want to check out more of what I do, check out my Twitter page. I'll have it in the link in the description below to check out lap by lap coverage on race weekend. Also check out the Podium Finish. I write articles, race recaps, also the previews. They are so much fun. It's a great group to work with. I'll do my usual sign off. Thank you so much for listening to Above the Yellow Line, and until next time, I'll see ya.